Oh, cool. All right, here we go. Hi there. Welcome to another one of my Own Your Expertise interviews. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get their ideas out of their heads and into the hands of their fans. Today, I'm sitting down with Corinna vanGerwen. Corinna is the founder and lead stylist of Canada's only gift styling studio. I'm super excited to talk to her because I really love what she does. I think you guys will love it as well. So Corinna, thanks for speaking with me. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Thank you so much for having me, Emily. I'm really excited. I am, as you say, as far as I know, Canada's only gift stylist. Um, it is a job that I made up, and I work with mostly PR and marketing agencies to elevate their outreach to the media and influencers. And I have recently started working with small business owners as well to take some of the tactics that they use to for their own businesses to try to market themselves and grow their businesses. Gift styling is what that looks like is I wrap presents. That's very basically that's what it is. But I do it strategically and for specific purposes. So for marketing and PR agencies, typically that looks like they will send out, they have a product for a brand that they need to, that they're launching, that they're trying to get into magazines, onto blogs, noticed on Instagram, and they'll send out packages to very key influencers and key media journalists, writers, editors. And in order to get those people get so much mail that it's important to make that those packages stand out. And that's where I come in. I create these gorgeous, and I have to remind myself to say that it is actually next level gift wrapping, because people, anytime I talk to someone who knows my work, they're like, it's not just wrapping. There's more to it, because it is the packages are very specifically styled so that they represent the brand, whether that be in colors or the look, the types of materials that we're choosing, and they're also impeccably put together so that it's really an experience when you receive them. There's sort of this moment of like, what is this? Even if it's the most simple paper and ribbon.
Cool. That's so fun. Yeah, I really liked how you describe it as the experience of unwrapping. I think on your website you talk about how, when you get a gift, it's tactile. It involves so many of your senses. You're smelling the paper, you're seeing the paper, you're feeling it in your hands, and how much it's an experience to unwrap a gift. It's not just, the paper. It's so much more than that. It's not folding the paper just right. It's giving people that experience. And I can see
Exactly.
the value for the PR groups that you're talking about, where you get so much mail and it's like, oh, another lipstick from another
Exactly.
makeup brand. But if it's in a package, you're like, oh, what, you're wondering what it is. And yeah, I could see that being
And
really
it's,
valuable.
I think with everything being so digital right now, people really forget how valuable that tactile experience can be. It's very much, it brings you to the here and now, and you really relate to this thing. And in best case scenario, you end up creating an impression that lasts for a long time. I used to be an editor at magazines, and there's some packages that I received that I still remember. And this is from like 15 more years ago. I'm going to date myself. Right. Like I can still remember receiving them. I still remember what was in them. And sometimes it's the package that they were presented in that really made them stand out. And PR marketing is all about building relationships and making a connection, being memorable. And if you can do that with a package that people receive, like really getting at that sort of visceral reaction, like, wow, that's gold, right? If you can make that connection and make them, it's about creating that feeling of them. That's where the gold is.
Yeah. I'd love to hear an example of something that you remember receiving that stands out.
Um, oh, I should have prepped for
Yeah, I
this.
put you on the spot.
There was one drink brand. It was like a enhanced flavored water drink.
Uh-huh.
And what they did, they sent the entire line. It was very colorful packaging. So it was like
Yeah.
a rainbow. And they sent it, they could have easily just sent one.
Mhm.
That would have been a typical way to do it with
Sure.
a press release. And what they did instead was they sent the whole rainbow. So there was the drinks with all the different flavors. And instead of like just stacking it in a regular cardboard box, they laid them end to end to end in this long, long
Oh,
box.
I see.
And so that package, um, the fact that it was this unusual shape right
Mhm.
away, like it didn't even, a lot of times the mail would pile up on my desk. I'd
Right.
get to it at a certain time, I'd deal with it later. This
Right.
one I opened right away.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
what is in this? I need to find out.
Yeah.
And so things like that, it really was about the presentation of it that made it stood out. Like I say, they
Mhm.
could have just sent one, they could have put it in
Right.
just a regular cardboard box, sort of laid on top of each other. It would have still been interesting. But the fact that
Mhm.
this sticks in my mind so
Yeah.
many years later,
Yeah.
it was the packaging that did that.
Cool. So you talked about your PR background, communications background, but why don't you describe your path to becoming the expert you are today?
Yeah, so I have always been obsessed with paper. I collect pieces of it. I still have pieces that I found when I was in high school and carted them with me to every house that I've ever lived in. Um, and I just, every paper tells a different story. And I just, the tactileness of it, the colors, the texture, and this really speaks to me. So I've always really loved paper. I've had an arts upbringing, gone to art schools all my life, very into creative and making things. And one of my creative outlets has been gift wrapping. So my gifts that I would give to friends and family got more and more elaborate, more and more particular to each specific person. Okay, what colors do they like? What style do they like? And this eventually turned into a blog. And I wrote a blog for a little while, and then I got fired, like most most people do when they start out on their own. I got fired from the job I had at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm taking this blog, I'm turning this into a business. And there
Cool.
was a lot of trial and error um,
Mhm.
in figuring out who my audience was and
Mhm.
what I would be selling them. Figuring out how to make it a viable business and
Mhm.
actually make an income and a living from it.
Mhm.
And it sort of all came together when I realized, you know what, I have experience with, as an editor, I received all these gifts. I had worked at a PR agency for a little bit, so I had been on both sides of sending and receiving these
Mhm.
packages. And I was like, oh, they send stuff all the time. These are the people that I can help. I understand their business. I understand how gift styling can help them elevate their media outreach, and that was that.
Yeah.
I found my niche, and I really
Yeah.
enjoy working with the people that I work with.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited about now bringing that to small business owners. I've launched a course and doing monthly sessions where I'm have just brainstorming sessions, helping people, like I say, use
Yeah.
those big brand tactics for their small businesses.
Oh, very
So.
cool. I suppose most of the people you work with are in some kind of product based businesses, or do you also work with service based businesses?
So there are a lot of product-based businesses. The corporate clients I have, the big brands, marketing agencies, typically that's who I'm working with.
Mhm.
For small businesses, gifting can serve a different purpose, say, for example, for coaching businesses,
Yeah.
with service businesses, there's a lot of opportunities to use gifting as part of the client experience and the customer journey. So either a welcome gift. I know a design agency that does websites, and they send a welcome package to all their clients that includes a notebook, a pen, a little enamel pin. And it's this beautiful package that they've put together that really sort of brings their clients in, says, we're in this together, we're here to help you, you're part of our family now. So that's just one example. I know a lot of coaches, particularly if they're doing VIP days, will have a gift, or even if they have a workbook or something, that workbook could be presented as a gift, to really, again, create that experience. It doesn't, you don't have to just plop the workbook on the chair. If you combine it with things, combine it with a notebook and a pen, wrap it really nicely, put a ribbon around it. When your coaching clients come into that room, they see this, and it's just this really nice, warm, welcoming, wow experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's lots of, I could go on, referral gifts, congratulations, we're done our work gifts, whatever. There's lots of places where you can use gifting in a service-based business. I mean, the obvious being client Christmas gifts, of course.
Yes. Thank you gifts and things. Yeah. I've gotten gifts from, vendors that I've used, people that I've worked with, and it has always been such a nice surprise. You don't really expect to get it. And I think, especially in cases where you're probably not going to meet them in person, you're probably only going to work virtually, it's just a nice kind of touchstone. It's a nice way to have that connection that you wouldn't otherwise get. So I think it's really cool. Yeah.
When you're working so much by email or just messages, to have something that adds that extra personal connection is really important, and particularly when you're in a service-based business. Just you want, you either you want them to be a repeat customer, or you want them to refer you to other people, write a good testimonial, whatever. It's just one of those things that creates what I like to call the warm and fuzzies, right? Like you want them to feel good about their experience with you. And the surprise of a gift is a really good way to generate those feelings.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you said, the relationship building and the connections that
exactly.
Yeah. What is your die in a ditch belief? For the audience, I like to talk about die in a ditch belief as being something you've thought long and hard about. It's something you'd be willing to defend if someone pressed you on it a little bit. It might be a little controversial, but it's basically, it draws a line in the sand for you. So what would you say is your die in a ditch belief, Corinna?
So no surprise here. Presentation matters. I think particularly with business, if you're sending a gift, I always, even though this is what I do, my die and ditch belief is not that every gift needs to be the most beautiful, gorgeous package you've ever given. Sometimes it's just not necessary. But when you're giving gifts as part of your business, it needs to represent your brand. And that's really important. It's a marketing tool. It's part of your relations with your clients, and it needs to represent your brand. It needs to communicate what your brand is. So either through colors, again, if you're an eco-conscious brand, you want to make sure that you're using packaging that is, eco-conscious, that signifies that. If you're doing, I think it's just,
no, that makes a lot of sense. I think I've been to these you know, trade shows or expos or whatever, and everyone's got the keychain or everyone's got the whatever, the flash drive that they're giving away or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I don't need another piece of junk that I'm just gonna throw away.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It needs to be thoughtfully thought out. And those gifts, they're not necessarily off the table, right? I was speaking with a small business owner recently, who she had yet another mug, but she uses it all the time because it was so nice. And it really represented the brand that had given it to her. I believe it was a coaching client or some sort of course program or something like that. And it was, she loved it. It really connected to the person, to the brand that had given it to her. But she used it all the time because it itself was a nice piece as well. And of course, on Zoom all the time, she's always using it, and people are like, oh, what a great mug. And so she automatically talks about where she got it from, mentions the business, and sometimes that leads to further conversation too. So it's not necessarily like a lot of those things a lot of the flash drives and the mugs and the pens don't work because they're not thought about. Right? It's not a thoughtful decision about, it's like, okay, let's just slap our logo on it and hand it out. So I think if you think about it and if you consider how you're presenting it, they can work. But no,
I love that. So one of the thoughts I had when I was thinking about your stuff is, you know, I wonder how many people think, oh, it's just wrapping, you know, or is it why does it have to be so special? Why does it have to be so thought out? So I think that's probably requires from you some amount of translating, you know, like translating your expertise for others. So I'd love to know how you kind of, you know, pitch it to others and show people the value there.
So I think one of the reasons why I've worked so much with PR and marketing agencies is because they understand the value of presentation. They understand that it's in marketing, it's all about looks. It's all about how you present yourself, how the brand is presented. And bringing that to small businesses, sort of teaching them that it does matter, that it's, you know, it's the same as showing up in a business meeting in your sweats. If you're not an athletic brand, if you're an athletic brand, maybe that's appropriate, right?
Sure.
So it's aligning your presentation with what your brand is. For small brands, I've started to sort of do that education through, I have free monthly brainstorming sessions, my business gifting brainstorming. And those are just, everyone's welcome. They can just come and we talk about different ways to use gifting in your business. If you have ideas about what you want to do, how to present, how to align your gifting with your business, with your brand, as well as with your values. And just really talking about when and how to use gifting in your business. And I think that's really fun. That's just something that I've just recently started, and it's nice because I'm starting to see businesses really start to think beyond just social media for marketing. That there's a lot of that in-person gifting can have a real effect on your business. Again, it's all about relations, and I think being such a digital first world, we forget about that stuff, about building relationships with people, not just followers, right?
Yes, I like that. Yeah.
And then the other thing that's been really interesting for translating my expertise is, because I did want to sort of bring these tactics to small businesses, I developed a course called Build Your Unboxing Experience. And what's been interesting is taking all this information that's in my head, these things that I just do almost without thinking for big brands, and going, okay, how do I how do I lay out this process so that a small business owner who's doesn't have marketing training, um, and doesn't, isn't obsessed with wrapping the way I am, um, can take these tactics and use them. So as I built the course, it was really interesting to figure out, okay, to take them through the process. First, there's the figuring out what the design brief is, what's the actual purpose of this gift, why are they giving this gift, what does it need to accomplish, to, okay, what's the look, what's already established for their brand look, what are some of the brand values, how does that affect what the look's going to be, and using that information to then develop a design, and then taking that and developing a buying guide and a style guide so that you can then replicate that look over and over again, so you have consistency in your brand. And building this course, it was each of those pieces. Some of them, sometimes it was better to use a worksheet where it's just guided questions. Okay, what's important with your brand? What are your brand values? What's the purpose of this gift? Who's it going to take? So a worksheet where they're answering all these questions. And then in some cases, it made more sense to communicate that knowledge and share that expertise through a template where they just fill it out with their information. So the buying guide, for example, is a template. Fill out where you're sourcing your materials from to create these beautiful unboxing experiences. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Just the sort of teaching is a very, very interesting way to get clarity and communicate your expertise. It's been a really fun process for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, putting together a program like that is a nice, it's very different from your day-to-day of styling gifts, right? So that's very cool. Yeah. Well, Corinna, thank you so much for taking this time with me today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, please tell everybody where they can find you online.
So online, my website is CorinnaVanGerwen.com. If you go CorinnaVanGerwen.com/brainstorm, then you can find the free monthly brainstorming sessions. And I invite everybody to come because they're actually a lot of fun. And it's nice to just chat about how to grow your business through this really lovely gesture, right? And then on Instagram, I'm at vanGerwen, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. We'll put those links into the comments so everybody can see them. And yeah, I really appreciate it, Corinna. Thank you.
Thank you so much.